I don't know how Studio Pierrot continues to outdo themselves, but Kubo and the team behind Bleach have once again nailed everything the manga contained and surpassed it through their anime-only content. After last week's episode, I thought Bleach would need some time before putting out another 10 out of 10 episode, and I was right, because they put out a 15 million degree Celsius episode. From the flashbacks to the action, to the unraveling importance of Ichigo's character for this arc, to the several heart-wrenching moments, this episode was insane. Absolutely everything was nailed in this week's episode, and that makes me insanely happy that Bleach is finally getting the adaptation it has deserved for all of these years. Once again, for a change, I have zero criticism for this week's episode. In fact, several moments I was absolutely shocked in because of how they were handled. Think of the original Gotai 13 flashback, which was insane, which some were expecting was a full-blown 1,000-year flashback and not just a simple fight. But let me tell you how this fight was important for the overall narrative. If we had a full episode flashback here of all places, the pacing would have been absolutely ruined, emotional impact would wear off, and the episode would have been good, but wouldn't have structurally been a good choice. But the Bleach teams decided to not do this, and instead go for a fast-paced action scene that instead increases the emotion of Yamamoto's final moments, and the curiosity for the original Gotai 13, thus impacting us as viewers even more in a superior format. It really nails the lines about them being cold-blooded killers, because all we have seen of them is them being cold-blooded killers. It creates this incredible violent atmosphere around them which is necessary for the original Gotai 13. They are truly everything I imagined the original Gotai 13 in being, and this is all thanks to the lack of censorship and the incredible music behind this massive genocide. I'm really excited to learn more about them as the story continues with its additional content. On top of that, this episode was incredibly important for Ichigo Kurosaki and his development further into the story. This is how his story for Thousand Year Blood War begins to unravel and tells us about his mother and her importance. I really enjoyed the changes made in this week's episode and the additional content. One of the best animated moments in the episode was when Ichigo found Yubak, but even before that, it really nailed every second that moments played on the screen. I guess I'm just shocked that the first invasion is already over. Like, we are already 7 episodes into this series, and I just remember waiting for the first episode to air. I mean, I cried in the Byakuya scene because of how well they nailed the atmosphere around it. I knew what was going to happen, but it was still an emotional moment for me. Seeing a man with such pride, a man that despised Ichigo, slowly change and develop to him throwing his pride away and asking Ichigo, someone who has no responsibility here, to save the Soul Society was insane. And the creators nailed the music and the animation and the picture quality to just really nail this moment and throw it in the coffin, just as great as the manga had done. The character development present in this singular scene that was brought to life thanks to Studio Pierrot was absolutely incredible. I've said it many times, I believe when concerning these sidecasts of Bleach, the character with the best development is Byakuya Kuchiki. The way he develops throughout the entirety of Bleach has always been an incredible experience, especially as it leads to this singular moment of the series that I had seen so many times in the manga, a moment that was so powerfully well done and brought to life in the anime, especially as Byakuya's Zanpakuto shattered. The attention to detail in this scene was incredible, and the way that they perceived one of my favorite moments of the series was impeccably well done. As someone who has been watching Bleach since elementary school, it has been such an amazing journey watching someone like Byakuya filled with pride, a sense of duty for a corrupt system, and a promise to the same system develop into someone who is willing to throw his pride away, someone who is willing to ask the same guy that he referred to as trash previously to save the Soul Society, to save Rukia, to save Renji, to save the individuals that he cared about. There are several moments that prove to the audience that Byakuya respects Ichigo, but nothing more than this singular moment, a moment in which for the first time Byakuya truly failed everyone. Byakuya is presented into the series as somebody who is overpowered, somebody who can never lose, except when he lost to Ichigo. But this is the moment where Byakuya was not able to fight on even terms with his opponent or overpower his opponent like Zamari or Tsukishima. This is a moment where Byakuya lost. Byakuya was hopeless. Byakuya was in despair. This moment is nothing more than perfect. But wait, Perfection does not stop there. The episode started with a perfect backstory, a perfect farewell to Yamamoto. I especially love when Yamamoto references the painting in his room and the time we got to see Child Shinsui. That was awesome. After that, we got a perfect display from Ichigo while he fought Uebach. We had the chance to see Uebach's terrifying strength. I remember when I read Bleach Thousand Year Blood War for the first time, and it was really these last 2 episodes that caused me to fall in love with this arc. While reading it, of course. The twists and turns were all incredible. I mean, I was freaking out, but surprisingly, while watching it, it caused me to freak out even more than when I read it, despite me knowing what happens. It kind of undoes the few things that they have done that have really ticked me off in this adaptation. The removal of Byakuya's speech at Sasakibe's funeral. However, I think the addition of having Sasakibe stab Uebach in the original war was far better than this scene. We really got to see the importance of Sasakibe as a character and why his loss was so tragic for Yamamoto. I think this addition more than makes up for what was taken from us, especially when concerning the Sasakibe moment. I always prefer when a story proves to us the strength of a character or the importance of a character, rather than simply telling us. This is my biggest problem with Squad Zero in the original manga, and while I won't spoil too much for the sake of the anime onlys, all I'll say is for the manga, we were only told of their overwhelming strength, never shown it. In fact, for every character but one, we were shown quite the opposite. One last thing I think the anime nailed is the effect of despair. I loved it when we saw all the Quincy come out and saw legions of Quincy warriors clash with the basic Shinigamis. And while this scene was in the manga, it was never on this grand scale. We never got to watch tons of Shinigami just die from basic Quincy. And I know how simple this scene might seem to many people, but to me it really helps demonstrate the bigger picture of how wide scale this attack really is, how screwed the Shinigami really are. And while it was felt in the manga, the additional time and energy spent on this simple few panels made it even more emotional and despairing, how hopeless their situation really was. And this is how the themes begin to unravel in the story that don't really end until the end of the entire story. The anime did a way better job demonstrating these themes at this part of the story than the manga. The manga did great, but the anime is somehow surpassing the manga in that way. Before we reach the end of today's video, I want to discuss 2 last things. Firstly, the original Gotai 13 looked amazing. This gal was hot, the rest of the character designs were awesome, and I enjoyed each of their unique design and fighting style. But we also got a reveal in this episode that begins to change everything inside the story of Bleach, a reveal that only sparks the beginning of the future for Ichigo's character. We learn that Ichigo truly knows nothing about his origin, and the way the animators decide to adapt this was terrifyingly amazing in my humble opinion. It was everything the manga showed, yet better and more, and I don't say that lightly. The first 60 chapters of Thousand Year Blood War are the best 60 chapters in all of manga for me. So the fact that 10 or 20 of these are better in the anime is an insane accomplishment for the team behind Bleach, and just keep waiting. The story is coming and it is going to unravel amongst your eyes. You have learned that he is using Quincy techniques, and that he has no idea of who his mummy really is, but all that will change in the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. This episode was truly peak fiction, especially with its emotional content, insane music, and great storytelling elements. They were all enticing and fun to watch as a viewer. So what are your thoughts on this episode? Let me know in the comment section down below, and also don't forget to like today's video and subscribe. By the way, this stuff doesn't get revealed for probably another 4 episodes at the minimum, but I will see you all soon, maybe, anyway, I guess in the words of Genichi Maru, bye bye!